All right, this is a quick walkthrough of how a callback works. And this is something we glossed over yesterday, but it's an important concept in all user interface programming. And it's a common idea that what you do is you set up an object, such as a screen or a button, and then you have what's called a callback. So like every time someone interacts, that calls some other code. So that's part of what's called event-driven programming. So here's my simple example. And what I do is I create a turtle, import turtle, and then t equals turtle at turtle. And then I create a function that simply moves the turtle wherever you click. So this one's called screen clicked. It takes x and y as arguments. And every time you call this function, it's going to print screen clicked xy, and then it's going to call t go to. So it's going to make that turtle go to x, y. All right. Now the callback is a function, or rather, the callback is set up on the screen object. So I get the turtle screen, s equals turtle.screen. Every turtle also has, I could have also said s equals turtle.screen. Every turtle has a screen, has a pointer to the screen object attached to it for convenience. And the screen has an onClick method. And let me show you quickly. Oopsie daisies. If I look at the help on turtle screen, I can search for that onClick. Oops. Exit on. Here's the onClick method. So built into the help, this is the documentation for on-screen. It says onClick. It's called with obviously the screen. You don't have to pass it. That's how object, right? And then a function. And optionally, you can choose to have it only work for certain buttons. So button 1 or button 2, I think, is left or right click. So fun is a function with two arguments, the coordinates of the click point on the canvas, and the number of the mouse button, and they give some examples. This is very nice documentation. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that you can look up the documentation. By the way, you can notice that there's an on key and an on timer, which are other callbacks. Okay, so now the s on click method takes a function as its argument. Now notice we don't call the function, we pass the function. So notice if we did this, we'd be calling the function and passing the return value, which would be none. So we're going to just pass the function with no parentheses there at all. Some of you have been frustrated in the past that if you just type a function name like this, screen clicked, it doesn't do anything. You have to call it. And the reason is that it's quite useful to be able to refer to a function, to set some variable equal to the function, for example, to pass it to another function. So in this case, we're passing a function to a function as an argument. That's a little hard to get your head around, but the reason is that the screen object wants to know, what do I do when I'm clicked? Well, a do in programming is a function, right? So how do you tell it what to do? Well, you pass it a function. So that's kind of cool. You're starting to see, hopefully, some of the power of being able to pass around functions and later on being able to pass around objects of programming. So what we do is we call s on click screen clicked, and then we call the turtle.main loop. If you're working in the Python interactive shell, you don't need to call main loop. It sort of does it all as it goes. But if you're calling it as a script altogether, you need turtle main loop. And the main loop basically says, here I am, I'm waiting. What the program does behind the scenes is every so many milliseconds, it checks to see, has the user clicked anywhere? And if the user has, what do I do? And then it looks for those callbacks, or it was to see, do I have a timer? All right, so let's go ahead and run this code. So Python, click example. Here it is. Oopsie daisies. Let's go ahead and fix this code. I gotta save it. Sorry, that was an earlier example. One more try. I click, and it goes wherever I click. So very nice. You can see I also had it print out the coordinates. So if you were trying to learn coordinates, this would be good. Actually, You could have used this when you drew your man. You could just draw a man and pay attention to how those coordinates go. And maybe this would have helped you in that project, although my stick figure is all connected now. There we go. Very nice. All right. So that is the gist of how you do a callback. You could do any code you want here. You could get rid of the turtle moving, and in that case, it would just print out where you clicked. That's obviously not quite as useful. You could also have it reflect. So let's have it go to the place and then to its reflection points. Let's take a look at what that does. It's going to go to xy, negative xy, negative x, negative y, x, negative y, and xy. Let's see. That should make some sort of square. Maybe it makes an x. Let's take a look and see what that does. Whoop-oo. Makes a square wherever we click. That's kind of fun. All right, and notice this is an example where, ooh, yeah, look at that. It interrupts if you call it in the middle of going. Do you see that? You can actually interrupt it. So that's where the turtle updating can be a little bit frustrating. When you write real games, you're going to want to look at some of my advanced code, which I'll go over later, for how to interrupt the updating. But that's an example of a program quickly getting pretty complicated from a very basic beginning. Just walk through that code one more time, top to bottom. We import the turtle. We create a T object, T instance of the turtle object, which we're going to use to draw. We define a function called screenClicked. That function takes x and y as variables. We use these gotos to use the x and y to decide where to move. We then initialize the screen, and we bind the onClick callback by calling the onClick function. And we hand it our function, screenClicked, that says, hey, whenever you're clicked, call my screenClicked function. The screenClicked, of course, has to take x and y as arguments. And then we call the turtle main loop. All right, that is the first round of this tutorial. I hope this is helpful. We will go deeper in the next one.